What is up, and let us kick off. We're going to be talking about why you should not become a software engineer in 2021 and maybe why you might want to. But let's jump straight into it. There are many reasons why people want to go into software development, just from the career stability to change in job pace to the excitement of being part of something new. But there's a lot of reasons why you should not become a software engineer in 2021 that I will dive into right now. Now look, my background is someone who's actually gone from a mechanical engineering degree and who's managed to build products for the likes of PwC, the United Nations, products that have been bought out and acquired for multiple millions of dollars, and my code is used, from what we've checked, for more than 1 million users, if not multiple million users every month. So I've gone from absolutely hating code to being able to build and be in this position where we can, talk about these things. So I want to talk to you about why being a programmer in 2021 is probably not the best thing for you and what that means. So with that being said, let's jump straight into it. Being a programmer in 2021 or a software engineer is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Now, I know what the internet spreads and what people say, and people might be frustrated in their current jobs, whatever it may be, from manual labor to car sales to recruitment to even design, and you want to go into becoming a programmer because you think the salaries look so fantastic. Everyone sees the crazy 400k salaries in Silicon Valley. Now, a bunch of things I want to mention. Those salaries are actually isolated straight towards Silicon Valley specifically. Other parts of the US do have nominal salaries. That doesn't mean software doesn't pay great. It does, and we all know that. But I do want to mention that there's a lot of work that goes into it before you can actually acquire that salary. You can't just learn how to code for 3 months and then get that salary, regardless of what boot camps tell you. Even if someone gets that, it's because they've had some prior experience in some other arena that is complementing. So do not go into this thinking you're going to get rich overnight and get a 300k salary in an X amount of months, because there's a lot of people working to do the same thing, especially since you know what has happened across the world. The democratization of talent across the globe has changed, so the demand supply curve also fixes itself. So you should definitely not learn how to code or become a programmer if you're looking to get rich quick soon. The other thing I want to bring into place is, and this is something that I did, is you should not learn how to code if you think you want to build the next billion-dollar business idea out of the gate. Now, as someone who builds apps for a living for multiple people who've gotten acquired, who've raised a bunch of capital, I can tell you that coding actually holds a small part of the entire game. You need to be focused around distribution, growth, how to acquire customers, how to acquire them sustainably, your advertising model, your acquisition model, your retention model, your branding, your user experience, your marketing, and so much more that comes into play before even a single line of code can be written. Which is why the advent or takeoff of no-code tools is doing so well, because people have realized that code can come as late into the game plan as possible before you've actually gone ahead and acquired customers, made some money, and built a recurring engine that shows virality or growth. So yes, coding is important, but I think it's valuable for you to know how to code so that you can go ahead and manage a team of engineers and know what is actually happening. I'm not saying don't do that. Programming is a very important skill to have, but if you're doing it purely to build a billion-dollar business tomorrow, there's a lot that goes into it, not only on the specs that I've said around customer acquisition, but also building a billion-dollar business requires a lot with respect to scale, technical architecture, programmatic know-how, and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind, and if you want to go into programming to build the next billion-dollar idea, I probably wouldn't do that because there's a long road ahead. The other point I want to mention is you should definitely not learn how to code in 2021 if you think you're going to go ahead and jump into that nomadic lifestyle straight away. While remote work has taken off and people are loving that remote space, a lot of companies are still struggling to work out how to work in a remote environment. The remote world works really well when you're like a solo entrepreneur working on a single project and you're doing freelance work. Whilst that is possible, do realize to become a strong freelancer that can get that consistent portfolio of clients requires a bunch of effort, work, energy, and so on and so forth. If you want to go into programming purely for that fact that it's going to be the nomadic lifestyle within a couple of weeks, it's going to be a harsh reality check for you. That is definitely possible. It takes a bunch of time, but it is not going to be something that is going to happen immediately. There's a lot of logistical overhaul that happens to make that come into position, and also realize that it can be quite isolating and lonely living that lifestyle. It's spread really well, but it can get quite difficult when you're trying to collaborate with someone, especially when you want to learn more. As a programmer, you're picking things up every single day, and you're in a space where you're not next to someone or not getting mentored. So keep that in mind. If that's what you want to get into programming for right now, I would encourage you maybe to rethink about that. The other thing is, you go into programming and you expect a very cruisy, chill life where there's going to be high salaries, 9 to 5, and that's it. I want to put a harsh reality out to you and say that is not the truth at all, and you should definitely not consider programming in 2021 if that is your expectation. Note that this is all the things people can achieve after a couple of years of coding, not something that you can get just straight off the bat. And when you have such a isolated view of this, it is going to be difficult for you to actually go ahead and push through the difficult parts that every programmer goes through, everyone goes through, is the tough areas where it's difficult, programming is hard, and realize that this is an area in a professional environment that changes every single year, if not every 6 months. Just because you know particular language and technology in 2021 gives you no guarantee that is going to be something that is of value in 2022. Yes, you will have the programming fundamentals and principles of how code works, and you will become good at it every single day, and it will be faster for you to pick up things. But note that it is a constant grind. Every single week, month, year, there's a new technology coming out where large companies are putting capital into adopt that new technology for whatever reason, and that demand is there. So it is a continuous grind. You will be learning forever, and that is the beauty about it. And if you're not willing to accept that, because other jobs might have a consistent, like let's take accounting, no frill towards them, I love accountants, but once you set a certain standard of rules, you understand what it is. Rules are not going to change by a drastic scale. However, with programming, that's going to happen very, very often. So keep that in mind, and if that's what you're going to go into coding for, expecting a completely cushy life straight away, not going to be the case. Maybe in a few years time, 100%, but not straight away. The other thing if you want to consider is just getting to coding doesn't mean you're going to get a job straight away. The demand supply curve is off the chart. I completely agree with you on that, but realize that nowadays with the advent of code, the number of programming bootcamps out there, the number of people learning how to code every single day, there's going to be a ton of people in space with zero experience, all looking to become the next big programmer. So if you're going into coding expecting a job just tomorrow, that's not going to be the situation. However, the trick for you to achieve that is by combining different skill sets. If you come from a sales background, if you come from a psychology background, combining that with your coding environment is going to make you a superpower. And that's what I speak about a lot, and that's what a lot of people speak about, which is creating dynamic profiles, which is a user experience designer becoming a programmer, a marketer becoming a programmer, a project manager becoming a programmer. That makes you a superpower because you're combining two separate skills that each require a lot of experience into something where you've got, eyes on both sides and become that glue. So if you're going into coding just thinking that just learning how to code alone is good enough, not going to be the case. Having that dynamic mesh is going to make you a superpower instead. Alright, so now we've spoken about all the reasons why you should definitely not learn how to code in 2021 if those are the ideas and methodologies you've gone with. Now I want to talk to you about all the reasons why you should learn how to code in 2021. There is no lies behind this. Programming is the future, right? Whether you want to accept it or not, coding is going to be a fundamental skill, almost like speaking English or any national language when it comes to professional expertise. Whether you're in finance, you're in recruitment, whether you're in analytics, whether you're in marketing, whatever it is, knowing how to code is going to be a fundamental skill you need to have. So learning how to code now, in a day and age where it's so easy to access programming, 100% without a doubt, I think you need to get into code. It will help you become better at whatever job you're at, period. Whether it's even something as artistic as just painting, or even if it can be something as structured as legal. If you know how to code, you can do all things around artificial intelligence, scraping, analytics, combination of data mining. There's so much you can do with that superpower. I will 100% encourage you to learn how to code any day of the time. Also, the other thing to mention is the job parity that's going to come in. Statistics prove that there are going to be 4 million unfilled jobs by 2025 in the programming and development space. That's a massive gap and a massive requirement of engineers. Now, this might have changed in the recent past days since you know what has happened and there's been a spread of access of developers across the world. Regardless of that happening, the requirement and need for developers is not going to stop. However, to my previous point, people are not going to just look for engineers. They're going to look for people who know how to code, but also have other complementary skills that are going to help them and the company they work for succeed. Let's not lie about this. The salaries are fantastic and definitely have you got a higher and faster growth trajectory on a salary range than most professional careers, maybe putting finance aside. So yes, the salaries are great, but of course that really does depend upon the region you're at as well. If you're in the Southeast Asian region where there's a strong number of developers, you might not see as number of crazy salaries as maybe in the US or perhaps Australia or the UK. That is changing because of what has happened with the pandemic and salaries being distributed across the world. However, people like Zuckerberg and all the large CEOs have said you cannot go ahead and demand a seven-figure salary or salary of someone in Silicon Valley whilst you're still working in a country maybe like India or Philippines. While they might be fantastic engineers there, they still said that the salary will be paid according to the local environment. So that's something to consider. Regardless, the salary that is paid in the local environment is still much higher than doing a nominal job. That is for sure. I know people who get paid well above market rate being developers versus working in a subsidiary career path at the same age or a couple of years out of university. So the salary is great, so that's something for you to consider, but that's not an immediate win. That is a gradual, successful, slow growth that you end up having. If you're one of the few good ones or lucky ones to go really fast, yes, that it'll be expedited, but I wouldn't go into programming with that in mind. Go into programming trying to solve problems for the world. Which brings me to that next point is it is one of the few careers that you can actually solve problems that is going to change the world. You've seen all these cool products that come into space, these startups that are coming into market. You get to be part of that vision of someone or a group of people actually trying to change the complete world. Imagine being part of the Uber team or the Airbnb team or the Facebook team, or let's just take a company as recent as Fast that are doing really well around one-click checkout. They've done and raised a lot of money and they're looking to change the way the entire world operates on the e-commerce space as well as other companies. So having that ability that I personally don't think you'll necessarily see in a space like law or maybe in a space like accounting and finance, but you might see in medicine or a space like in technology. That ability to be part of the future and actually contribute to the future is fantastic. Imagine we've built ICOs for companies and we've worked on bleeding edge technology, and I know how amazing I felt working for the companies like the United Nations actually solving problems and helping people live and lead better lives. So that is a fantastic reason to get into code this day and age. The other thing that is an extremely good reason for you to learn how to code is because you can build your own startup. It is one of the core skills, even counter to what I said, is one of the core skills that you need to have to go ahead and build your own company. No code tools exist and they exist for a strong reason, but they exist to a point at which you still need to go ahead and hire a technical person, and you can be that technical person. It'll also help you raise capital if you go ahead and have the technical know-how, because investors will feel safe by giving you money as someone who has that experience and expertise. So it will definitely help you build your own startup if you learn how to code. The other thing is programming jobs generally do offer good work-life balance. Now there are exceptions where if you're working for Amazon or a small startup where they're going to grind you to the ground, I do want to mention that programming is one of the hardest jobs you're going to ever do, because you're the person who's trying to solve something technical but usually control the decisions made by people very non-technical, and trying to explain that to them is always going to be something that is counterintuitive, and you need to work towards becoming great at that. So it is a tough job, and yes, work hours can be crazy. However, if you join a larger enterprise, your work hours can be really flexible and really convenient. And programming for the longest time possible has always been built around the fundamentals of convenience, flexibility, and remote work. While the rest of the world was struggling to understand how to operate in the pandemic, people programming will tell you that nothing's actually changed. They were always used to decentralized communication, asynchronous ways of meeting with each other, and the workflow of development always worked where it was non-codependent on the other person, unless you're in the early stages where you're trying to get mentorship and support around building something. So those are all the reasons I think you need to learn how to code, plus more. But do note there are some strong reasons why you shouldn't code based upon your mindset. There you go. I hope this helped you. Now, in the bleakest reason, if you actually want to know how can I actually get started, that's going to be a separate video, but I'm going to give you a quick quick brief overview of how you can do that. Easiest way you can start how to code is simply going to websites like Khan Academy or Free Code Camp and figure out how to learn JavaScript. JavaScript and Python are some of the best programming languages for you to learn. I've actually written and put a video out on the top 4 to 5 programming languages of 2021. Check that out if you want. Then I would go ahead and do micro startup courses or ways to go ahead and build micro projects using popular creators on sites like Udemy, like Steven Grider, as well as Maximilian. They're fantastic people. I've personally done their courses as well, and I've loved it, and it has helped me learn a lot in coding too. Then I would go ahead and do very technical programming questions to get that brain and mind of mine into the area of a technical person, because learning how to solve problems is literally like solving riddles, finding a needle in a haystack. So you would do something like cracking the coding interview, which is a great space for you to go ahead and learn how to do really technical problems, solve architectural solutions. And I would also go ahead and do a great website called Interview Cake that will help you go ahead and be prepared for interviews, set you into the mindset of an algorithm solver, and become something of a mathematical genius without you even being one. It'll help you figure out how to solve complex problems with code. The other thing that I think separates most people from everything else and help you really understand how coding works in general versus what is the front end, what is the back end, what does this small part of the product do, is understanding system architecture. Now, I really love the videos done by this guy called Gaurav Sen on YouTube. He does great videos explaining how Uber, Airbnb, Snapchat, Facebook, you name it, all the big companies like Instagram actually build their products from top, bottom, left, right. How do they actually operate beyond just something isolated and small? And that will really help you get into that mindset of an architect and a programmer, understand how everything actually joins together. So that's something I would consider going down the programming path again. But the last thing that I can suggest, and the most important thing, as someone who's taught over 32,000 students online, and I've taught at multiple boot camps over here and mentored a lot of developers to get into code, is to find a tiny app that you care about, a problem that solves something for you, a scheduling app, a calendar application, a bug reporting product, a project management tool, whatever small itch you have, put that as a vision, and then pretty much Google your way through it. Figure out how to go ahead and do every single element of the product, learn, fail, but all the answers are out there. Trust me, for something as simple as that, or something that you might find as complex but has been done a few times, people have already asked questions and solved for it. So there you go. I hope you like this video. If you do, please like, subscribe, and share, because it'll help share the video with the rest of the world. YouTube will spread it to other people, and it'll help me spread the message of who should not get into programming and who should. I'll see you around for another video, and subscribe for new ones that are gonna come out every single week. Take care and thank you.